Okay, in this video series, we're going to look at allowing pages to expand, having breakpoints in both the master and the active pages, working with a new widget that I'm going to give you called Hover Reveal, and then also we're going to do a little scaling type review. So it's allow pages to expand, having multiple breakpoints in both the master and the active pages, working with Hover Reveal, and scaling type, and that's going to be just a review, scaling type. All right, the first thing we want to do is I want to show you guys how you can allow the page to expand in use. So before we actually do that, let's take a look and see what we have so that we can see exactly what we're dealing with. So I'm going to push this thing out live, and I highly recommend that you guys try to view what you do in a browser versus inside of Muse, because for the most part, when it's live in a browser, it's what you see is what you get. So as you can see, as I open and close this browser, you'll see that these images, for the most part, they're constrained to the page. Of course, when they get too close together, they'll start to overlap, and we're gonna address that in the next set of videos. But as I pull it out, you'll notice that it won't go beyond the edge of the page. All right. So let's see how we can get it to expand. So what I want to do is, if you notice, at the on the left and the right side of the breakpoint bar, there are these little arrows. There's one on the left side and one on the right side, and they're pointing in. So when I click on them, they point outward. As you see, I clicked it here, it went out. Click here, it points outward. And let's see how that affects the page. So as I push it out live, now you're going to see that those images at the bottom, now they actually interact with the browser edge. They're not constrained to the page. So as I come in and out, you'll see that, of course, when they get too close, they'll start to overlap, but they're no longer constrained to the page. They now interact with the browser edge. So that's how you can get, I should say, how you can allow your page to expand in use. Okay, next up, let's talk about putting multiple breakpoints in both the master page and the active page. So first, right now we're on what is a home page. Let's go to the master page, and let's put our breakpoint here. So let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a breakpoint, like maybe right about 700 mark. Yeah, maybe right about there. I'll just add a breakpoint. All right, I'll say OK. And as you can see, I came in, and I might just even adjust that even more. So what I'll do is I'll take the scrubber, and I'm going to pull this in. All right, and maybe about the 488 point. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Like right about there, the 482 thereabouts, and I will put a breakpoint there. And I'm going to delete this breakpoint here. So now I have a 482 breakpoint here, and of course the 960 here. All right, and that's on my that's on the master page. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to the home page, and as you can see, there are these phantom arrows here. They represent that breakpoint that's on the master. But now, as I use the scrubber to come in, I want to put a breakpoint like just right before the actual images start to touch each other. Right about there, I'm going to insert a breakpoint. So now I have a breakpoint at 848 that's on the master page. All right, so I have a breakpoint on the master page that's at 848, and then I have a breakpoint on the breakpoint on the home page at 848, and a breakpoint on the master page that's at like about 482. Now, to make sure everything moves as I want it to, I'm going to pin a few things. So on the home page, I'm going to click on this image that's on the very far side. I'm going to make sure that that's pinned, and actually it's already pinned to the right side. I want to make sure the one in the middle is pinned to the center, and I want to make sure the one on the left side is, of course, pinned to the left side. So this way, everything is doing what it needs to do. I will also make sure, just want to make sure, test to make sure that the word Cadillac concept, I want that pinned in the middle. So I can see that one is not. So let's do that right now. Let's pin that one in the middle. All right, so we have the pinned in the middle. All right, and then let me make sure that at the 482 size, click here and make sure that's pinned in the middle. Okay, so now the next thing that I want to do is on the home page, as we're at the 848 mark, at this point, this is where things are going to start to shift. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to take this center one, move it down just a little bit. I'm going to take the one on the right side, move it down just a little bit. Okay. Then I'm going to select all three of them. Okay. I am going to use the center one as the key object, and then I'm going to align them all to the key object centered one on top of the other. So I'm going to go over to my alignment option, and I'm going to hit center. So now they're all aligned, centered. Then I'm going to change the key object to the one on top, because I want every one of them, starting from left to right, to go straight down with a 10 pixel gap between them. So now I'll click this, and as you can see, now I have them all ducks in a row. But I need to change the pinning on these, because since now they're all aligned centered, they all need to be aligned centered. Okay, so now at the 960, they're spread out and they're all aligned. One is on the right hand side, one is in the middle, one is on the left side. And then at the 848, we notice that they're all centered, one on top of the other. Okay, now let's go over to the master page and let's take a look at that. Now at the master page, even though the words do still fit right in there, I want to change that because it's kind of big. I'm going to change that size to, it's now 40. I'm going to make it 28 point. Okay. Let's see, 28 point. We'll say okay. And then I'm going to also move it down so that it kind of aligns with the bottom of the frame. So I'm just going to nudge it down like so. All right. So now that means that at the 960 size, it's the 40 point size. All right. You'll see it's 40 point aerial. And then at the 482 size, it's at 28 point. Because if you guys remember on Monday, when this is up front, this is where you can actually change. If you notice right underneath the anchor, you have these options right here. When you have the 1T up front, that just means you can change the point size in different breakpoints. All right. So you can see now on the master page, the only thing that's happened on the master page is this is changing. The size is here. But now I have, when I go to the home page, all right, there's nothing that really interacts with that 482 measure because that's taking place on the master page. On the home page, the only breakpoint we have is the 848. All right, let's take a look at that and see what we have. So I'm going to push the whole thing out live. All right, and let's see how it works. So now I have this. Okay, I know what I want to do. I'm going to take those images and bring them back so they don't go all the way out to the edge. But watch what happens when it hits. Then we have it in a lot, they all line up. And then as I come in even narrower, then you see how the Cadillac concept now gets smaller. All right. So there's one thing I want to do. I want to change those arrows so that they don't expand all the way out. I want to have them constrained to the page. So let's try that one more time. So I'll come here. I will point these arrows inward. And now when I go out, you'll see that the images at their max width, they won't go beyond the width or the constraints of the page. So you can see the header is responding, but the images will not go beyond the page, but they'll start to contract as it comes into the actual page width, and then they'll knock over so that they go straight down, and then as it closes in even more, you'll see that the Cadillac concept will actually change. So that's how you can have multiple breakpoints in your document. You could have breakpoints that are specific to the home page, and you can have breakpoints that are specific to the master page. Okay, next up, we're going to actually build in that new widget, the hover reveal widget, and that's in our external library. That's the one that looks like books. So I'm going to click here, all right, and then I see it down here. I click on that. I'm going to drag it out to the page, okay, and what you're going to notice is it's going to come out. It's going to be one large frame with a dialog box, like most widgets. So the first thing I want to do is I have to replace the frames that are there with this new widget. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take the specs on this. I can see that when I go to transform, it's 265 by 265 square. And then I'm going to take a guideline and put it right down here. All right, so that I know they align, where they align. I'm going to grab all three of these, delete them. I'm going to make the size of this 265 by 265. And since it's linked, I just have to put in that number once. Then next up, I'm going to take this frame, all right, this widget actually, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to bring it, align it to the margin of the page, and then bring it down and align it to that guideline right there. Then I'm going to click this, Option, Shift, click, and drag. All right, make sure I get two of them. Then the same thing, Option, click, Shift, and drag. So I have three total. Okay. Then I'm going to take this one, put it here, and pin it to the right. Bring the one in the middle, bring it over to the middle. All right. And pin it to the center. And then I'm going to take this one and then pin it to the left. Now, the next thing I need to do is I need to select all three of them, and I need to make them none. All right, I don't need them to scale, because if they scale, it could cause a problem. So I have it at none. I have them locked with a little padlock right there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my 848 break right here, and just like I did previously, let me just click off so nothing is selected. Take the first one, bring it down just a little bit. All right. Take this one in the middle, bring it down just a little bit. Then I'm going to highlight all three of them. Click the widget in the middle. Go over to Align and align them to the key object, which is in the middle. Then I'm going to change the key object to the one on top. Well, actually, let me see, have them all selected. To the one on top. And then I'm going to space them out so that there's a 10 pixel gap between them. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to align these all to the center. All right. So again, when you see them at 960, all right, they're all three in a row. And then at 848, they're all stacked one on top of the other. Okay, next up we're going to populate these widgets with the imagery and the text. So first we're going to do it, and it could be on any page break. It could be it could be either on the 960 or the 848. It doesn't make a difference, because whatever you do on one, it's going to happen on the other one. So what I'll do is we'll start populating this widget. So you click on the widget, you click on the little blue arrow, and you'll say Add File. All right, and I'll navigate. I have these things already laid out, 1, 2, and 3. So I'll say 1, I'll say Open. All right, and then that's in there. And you'll see a thumbnail will pop up. Click on the next one. All right, again, Add. All right, of course, that's going to be 2. All right, put that in there. We'll say OK. All right, and then next up, of course, the last one. We're going to put that in, and that's going to be 3. Okay, add file, and that's going to be 3. Okay, so now we have the images in place, and you'll see that when I go to the larger breakpoint, there they are, and you can see there they are right there. So you only have to do it in one, and it's going to automatically do it in the next one as well. All right, so now loading in the text is a little bit more involved, but it's very interesting. So let me just show you how you put the text in there. Again, we're going to click on the widget. I'll do one, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to put in the effects. So I'll do one, and then show you how the actual hover effects work. So I click on the little arrow here, go down to content. All right, and then you're going to notice you have this. It's a pretty long dialog box here, but basically it's all the formatting for the text. So we can start with the alignment. So we'll say, for the content alignment, we'll keep that at left. All right, for the title, we'll come in here and we'll put down here Cadillac Concept 1. All right, and we'll, again, for this exercise, we'll keep all this the same. The font size will be 20, the lettering will be 15. And also, I failed to mention this, at the top, the background color is going to be orange. We could change it to any color you want, all right, but we'll just leave it at orange. Okay, and then there's a secondary hover background, and I'll show you what that is in the next session. But for right now, let's just deal with the text. And then for the description content, what we'll do is, let me see, I will get our Word doc right here, and we'll grab this text. I'll just grab all this text right here, copy it, okay, come back here to the document. I come back here to the Muse file. Again, go to content, and I'll just paste that right in here for the description. All right, and again, the formatting for it is going to be 15 point at 20 points, so like a 20 point line spacing on lead, if you will. The color will be white. All right, and then there's an area down here. If we wanted to put in like a hyperlink, so that if somebody wanted to click and link off to another URL, they could do that here. I'm not going to do that right now. I'll leave that blank. So what I'll do is where it has link text, I'm just going to make that, just delete it, so that this way it will not come up. But you can actually put in text that links off, and you can put in a button. All right. And as far as the reveal transition style is concerned, for this, again, I'm going to do one, and then I'm going to come back and do the other ones. But let's say, for example, I could say, let me see, I will use the flip. I'll do flip vertically. Okay, there's a whole bunch of different transition options you have here, but I'll do the flip vertical. All right, and let's just come out and see what this looks like. So I'm gonna come out of the actual widget dialog box. I'm gonna push it out live, and let's see what that looks like. And when you see the option here, I will show you what that secondary color is all about. All right, so let's say, for example, if I mouse over, let's see, if I mouse over here, you can see how it flips. Now, if you notice, there's like this gray color that's transitions between the orange. That's that secondary gray color, if you will. All right, so that's how you can actually build in the text on this flip option, or this hover and reveal option. Okay, I've already populated all 3 of these frames, or these widgets. So let's take a look and see what we have. As you can see, as I push it out live, you can see here's one. Of course, the first one, it's going from the side. This one hinges from the top, and this one comes up from the bottom. There's so many things that you can do. The list is like almost endless, but you can try so many different effects. But what we're going to do right now to conclude this particular lesson is I'm going to put in that button so I can show you how you can actually put in a button which will allow the visitor to actually link off to another site. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here, all right, to this very first one. I'm going to click on the little arrow right here, go down to content again, and then what I'll do is where it says here text, I'll say button, all right, and then what I'll do is I'm going to, I already have the site. Right now the default here is going to Muse themes, but I already have a site that I'm going to send it to. All right, and then we'll say, here, learn more. All right, that'll be in the button, learn more. And then when you have that in there, you have all the specs for that particular button as well. So you have your, the color of the text, and we're going to keep all the defaults the same, just so you can see it. You can change all of this, but I'm going to keep it all the same, just so you can see how it works. All right, so now I'm going to come out of contents, and then again, there's an additional, let's say for example, if you wanted to change some of the styling that's being used in the content, you would do that here. Like you can see right now, everything is done with Arial or Helvetica, and it's all, web safe. But this is where you can change your text styling. But again, we're going to keep everything where it is. So just to recap, we have here up at the very top, you have the actual effect. All right, down here is for your contents, and that would be for the back or the flipped side, where you would have a title, specs for it, the description, specs for it. Then you can say either you have a button or you can have a text link, and you can put the URL here, and you have the specs for it. So let's take a look at that and see what that looks like. So I'll come out, I'll push this thing out live, and then let's test it out and see what it looks like. So here is the web page. There is our learn more. We'll click on this, and it's going to take us right to a website. So that's pretty cool. So anyway, that concludes our hover reveal exercise, and you will have enough information to be able to do, I believe it's exercise 15. So have fun.